Well, now, don't invest once you get that money that is about to come. See that cash that is about to come, or probably you have been saving somewhere and you already have some cash, or maybe let's say you're not saving, or maybe let's say there is a windfall of money that has just come, okay? Don't rush into investment. This is what you're supposed to do, because most of the people, what they tend to think is that immediately after getting some cash, what I'm supposed to do is to invest. Okay. Yeah, you're along the way, but it's not really the point. That's not exactly what you're supposed to do. And I'm gonna explain my point. Have you ever been in a situation whereby you find somebody telling you, you know what? Wow, I'm goodness. I got myself some 100,000 or 300,000 savings. I got saved myself for a long time period of time. Then I got that money and gone and started a business. I'm telling you, I squandered. I did this and I lost all the money and all those kind of things. So the point is, the moment we get money, the first thing that we think about is not about investment. For God's sake, when you get the money, don't even think about the investment in the like when I say immediately, like, okay, for example, say right now, I just go into my checkbook, I write you a check, let's say worth like 10,000 USD or whatever the amount of money it is. Maybe it's like half a million or whichever the amount of money. I just write you that check, okay? And I say, let's call you Susan. Say, pay Susan whatever this amount of money, blah, 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 blah. Then I give you that plot, then go do the cashing. See, the point is, you're not even supposed to think about investing. What you're supposed to think about, guess what? You're supposed to think about how to do what? To preserve it. To preserve it. To preserve it. Or should I say to own it? Or should I say to prolong? To prolong the ownership. To prolong the ownership of that money. You know why? For God's sake, most of the people tend to risk. Should I say, when I say risk, I don't mean that you shouldn't risk. I mean like you don't even do what you call the calculated risk. Most of the people tend to risk what they have, what they have for what they want. For what they want. And this is where people lose money. And that's why somebody comes here on social media, especially nowadays, they tell you, hey, guess what? Send us 100,000 each and every day. We'll be giving us 20,000. You have not even calculated and asked yourself. So then that means in 5 days, I'll return my money. You have not. You don't even ask yourself like, okay, fine. Wow, if then they can afford to give me the 20,000 each and every day from my 100,000 investment, what are they getting and where exactly are they investing? And by the way, how can I personally get that investment instead of using them? You don't even ask them. See why? Because you're just motivated on what you'll get. You're like, wow, 100,000. I'm gonna get 20,000 each and every day. Amazing. This is the money. Just take, go do the thing. All right. So mesmerized, and then you're all over the place saying, hey, guess what? I just got an opportunity. Are you guys okay? You don't do that. You don't sacrifice. You don't like sacrifice what you have for what you want. Well, basically, that's what you're supposed to do when it comes to investment. But what we do, there's something extra we consider, and that's what I'm going to share with you. See, when you get the money, we don't even think about investment. What we think is about preservation. And I'm using Susan as an example. Say I write that check to Susan. Susan now owns, let's say I credit $1,000,000 into Susan's account. Now, say Susan has never been a millionaire. Now, Susan is a millionaire. You get what I'm saying? Now, the point is, you should ask yourself, Susan, is how can I prolong the ownership of this money? And I always tell people, use 48 hours. 48 hours before you take anything out of that account. At least 48 hours. At least 48 hours before you deduct anything from that specific account. There are people, if you credit that amount of money right now, the next call they will make, uko wapi? For those who don't understand what is uko wapi, is that, where are you? And the moment someone asks, where are you? They're about to give you a form. In Kenya, we call it a form. A form means like, hey, I want to give you a gig. I want to give you something that we can be able to, hey, we can go up somewhere. We can do something. I have something, all those kind of things. See, there are people, you give them money now, they're done. They're done. They're done. They'll squander that cash to a point whereby you even understand they didn't even have the money. So the point is, the moment you get the cash, for example, if I credit $1,000,000 into your account, Susan, what you're supposed to do is to ask yourself, for God's sake, I'm now a millionaire. I have $1,000,000 in my account. How can I prolong this money? That's the first primary target. How can I prolong the ownership of this money? How can it still be under my name for the next 48 hours? How can it be still under my name for the next 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 2, 10? You ask yourself that. Then after answering yourself, you say, okay, fine. I'm going to invest this money. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Okay, now after you prove that indeed you'll be able to prolong the ownership of that money, now you go to the next level. And this one is very deep, guys. I want you to listen very carefully. Now, after you have proven that indeed you can be able to be trusted with that $1,000,000 shilling, because by the way, you know what? There is a difference between a millionaire and having a million. Now, after now, if not, I will do 1, 2, 3. And then at the back of your head, you know one thing. Okay, fine. Now I know. Now I understand that just having this money in an idle bank or idle account, it is great because it's mine, but there is a bug called inflation. That inflation thing is eating my money. And I still wonder, how can I now take this 2 million to, how can I take this 1 million to 1,100,000? 1 million. You know, it makes sense when you say I have a million shilling and I want to make 50,000 out of it. You know, it makes sense. But it makes totally no sense when you tell me I have 20,000 and I want to make 500,000. I'm not saying it's not possible, but mathematically it becomes sort of impossible. Not really impossible, but it becomes very complicated to a point whereby it's just next to, it's a neighbor to impossible. So the thing is, now you have this a million shilling. Now you ask yourself, what can I do with this a million shilling and at least make on top of it? How can I generate a 50,000 out of this? How can I generate 100,000? How can I generate 2,000? How can I double this money in a period of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? You get what I'm saying? Now, after you do that, remember, you feel the first rule is not to lose it. Now, the second rule is now, I want to invest. Now, where am I investing this cash? Is that investment violating the rule number 1? Because in anything that you do, no matter how promising it is, no matter how sweet it is in terms of the making money, it should not violate the first principle of preserving your money. Capital preservation. And that's why we're coming to this term called capital preservation. Capital preservation. Capital preservation. For example, let's say this pen costs a million shilling. Okay? Now, if I buy this pen, I don't have the money. I do not. But I have the money in direct way because I have the pen. So by virtue of me having the pen, I have the million, assuming that if I can sell this pen or I can resell this pen, I'll get my money back. So is this pen depreciating or appreciating in the sense? Let's say there is a great demand that is growing about these pens, the Good Joseph's pen. Let's say there is a demand and the Good Joseph's pen cost a million shilling and I buy that and I'm prospecting that this pen, does it have a track record of it appreciating or depreciating? It has a track record of it appreciating. Okay. Fine. So if I buy a million shilling this pen, therefore it means I do not have the money in the account, but at least I have a pen that is assuring me the capital preservation and I would resell it. And when it comes to reselling of this pen, how long does it take for me to sell this pen for me to get back my money? At least my money. Don't be like, hey, with the profit, you disregard your cash. You know, some people cry over the profit. You want to get the profit. You disregard you losing this money. And I'm gonna give you a very crazy example. You find some people who are selling cars. Sometimes they can sell a car at the same price that they bought. They have not made any profit, but they have to sell it. Why? The dues are here, overheads are here, license has to be paid, there is workers to be paid, there is electricity, there is water, and maybe let's say the overheads is 2 million. You sell that car at 2 million, the same amount of price that you bought, because you need liquidity, you need cash to make sure that the business goes on and on and on. Not all the occasion the businesses makes profit. That's what people don't understand. And that's why I usually feel bad when someone inboxes me and telling me, hey, you know what, Joseph, I would like you to give me a business that I can start with 500,000 and I want you to be very, very 100% sure I can. See, the moment you start now conditioning that way, it becomes like, see, in the world of business, we don't use the word sure. In the world of investment, again, we can at least negotiate when you talk about the surety. But again, it's not a term that you engage when you're getting yourself into. You get what I'm saying? As much as we are saying the capital preservation, we have to make sure that at least we cannot go the negative. We cannot go the negative way. And if then out of this a million shilling, we would go into the negative way, then we don't risk the entire chunk of the cash. We can maybe say take like 200. If the 200 can go the negative way, I don't have any problem. I can accommodate the 800. So when you do those calculations now, you'll be able to see even when you get that money, the first rule or the first principle is never about investment. It's about the capital preservation. Now I was giving an example, this Good Joseph's pen. Say now it takes typically 2 or 3 months or 5 months to resell this pen into the market. Then you can be able to get your money. Now you ask yourself, the point is, okay, fine. What will I get? Say I'll keep that pen for the next 3 months or 5 months or 1 year. This pen can represent a bond, can represent a bill, can represent a money market fund. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, see, if I put this pen or I preserve that pen for the next 1 year, that $1 million bob of mine, say I'm getting a rate of 10% flat rate. See, I'm going to get myself like 100 G's, 100,000. Now, it makes sense in the world of investment. You get what I'm saying? Now it makes sense. Now the question is this. I remember there was someone who approached me and he wanted us to get into the business. And the business was about buying something. And that thing, where I was making something, but it was way small compared to that what I was risking. I have no problem risking much to get small if the risk involved is negligible. I have no problem. But there's no way I can take a business risk to get a return of the investment. Okay, let me repeat my point. There is no way I can take a business worth risk for a return of an investment. Because you see, in investments, they usually have low returns because they have low risks. Businesses have high risks and they have high returns. So there is no way I can take high risk and get low returns. It's not proportional. You have to understand all those nitty-gritties. See, when you approach money with that mentality, when you approach cash with that understanding of you don't have to, think about investment immediately, but then you can say like, hey, I have $1 million bob, you see. Now we're talking about Susan here. Now Susan has $1 million bob somewhere. So now there's $1 million bob somewhere. Susan can be like, hey, guess what? Out of this $1 million bob, I want to risk a chunk of it. I can say, hey, guess what? This 200 G, I'm going to put it in what we call a high risk. We call put it in a high risk. Okay. And now the other we can say now the other thing, like 300K, I'm gonna put it in a moderate risk. Okay, and the huge chunk, which is half 500, I'm gonna put it into a low risk. Why? See, a moderate risk, this is like an average whereby it's like an average to everyone. See, it's when your money is subjected to an average thing. The risk and the losses may not be in a proportion of 50 to 50, but can be in a proportion of 60, 40, 70, 30, thereabout. So there are chances of also making quite of a presentable chunk of cash when you go the moderate way. But when we go to the risk, this is where you can have what we call the roller coaster of feelings and emotions. Yeah, I remember the first time I bought shares or stocks. Whoa, I bought the shares and it was around in the morning and at around 1 p.m. I was there to check. Yeah, I'm telling you, I was already on loss. Because and it was quite, I think it was about 6 point something percent. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm on loss, and I was like, wow, did I make the right decision? I mean, like, forget about it. I wouldn't even check about that. And then at the evening, and then I went there to check the thing. I realized, wow, the loss was around 6.5%. Guess how much it is right now? It is at 2.8. I was like, yeah, it's still a loss. Yeah, I understand, but there is hope. There is something. And then the next day, when I checked at the morning, when the market opened, it was around then 4.2. I was like, yo, what's happening? Then I check again, it was around 1 point. And then I check again, it was, another time I checked, it was about at a profit of 4.4%, 6%, 7%, 8%, goes down, goes up, goes down. See, when you put it into a high risk areas, you find like it's a roller coaster of emotions. It's a roller coaster of emotions. It can go high, can make you a crazy amount of money. At the same time, can go down, can crash, can... You get what I'm saying? So that kind of a money, you don't put, can you imagine this? This is the only money that Susan has, and if you put that into a high risk, and you can just imagine 6% of $1 million bob. Yo, I'm telling you, that is over 60,000 Kenyan shillings. Yo, that's a huge chunk of money. That can even make you get diabetes immediately or blood pressure. So it is good that when you risk that, what you know, you're already in peace with it. You're in peace with it. You're like, okay, fine, whatever happens with this money, yeah, oh, fine, I'm not investing to lose it, but I'm in good terms with it. I'm okay. I'm comfortable. Whatever transpires with this money. But my eyes are with this too. That's where my eyes are. My eyes are, okay? So when you actually advocate this before you even get investment, this way we will minimize us taking what we call unhealthy risk and worthy risk, and all those kind of things. So guys, don't forget this. 1st June of 2024, I'm going to have myself a session is about finances. How can we take care of the second half of the year, because it will be the 1st June of 2024, basically the half year. How then can we prepare ourselves for the holidaying season and what have you, what should we put in order and all those kind of things. So if you'd like to be part of that, and by the way, I'm gonna give those people who will subscribe to that, I'm gonna give them free ebooks. All right, that is personal finance booklet. I'm going to give you again about the money market fund. So for you to be in that kind of thing, it will be only $15. And then I'm gonna have we're gonna have what's called Google Meet video call, where you can have the ask the questions in real time. This is Good Joseph speaking. Don't forget to hit that like button, leave me a comment on the comment section, tell me where you're watching me from, and I'm so delighted if you're a returning subscriber. Thank you for your eyeballs and always coming here. And by the way, if you'd like to get my number, is always on the description of this specific video. Go grab it. My email is as well as there. See you the next one.